All right, so here's the demo for the key assignment. It doesn't really matter what kind of key you choose, it just has to be able to sit flat on the piece of paper. I'm gonna go ahead and just choose this one because it's pretty typical. So I would recommend that you use something like a 2H pencil maybe for your construction lines, and then switch over to 2B. I'm going to use a 2B for everything, so hopefully you'll be able to see it a little better. So for this assignment, we're going to go over some basic proportions and measurements, and we're going to keep it all two-dimensional, so we don't have to worry about the third dimension, and we'll just think about measuring it, dividing it up, not using a ruler for that, but doing it all freehand. And so the first thing I'm doing is I'm just, as you can see, tracing my key. So let me go and just double check some of this stuff here. That's pretty good. I just didn't like it right here. Some of those little knobs are kind of worn down and maybe a little difficult to find when we're drawing it. So I'm just gonna sort of clarify a few of those things. All right. So there is the tracing of my key. So now I'm going to work on my parallel lines a little more, and I'm going to try to figure out what sort of rectangle would enclose it. So I'm going to try to keep my lines here perpendicular and parallel, and so I can sort of double check that so I can pinch measure. So if I take that measurement and compare it to that, I can see that it looks like it should be up a little bit higher there, maybe. Here, let me get myself an eraser. And that's why you want light, easy to change lines. All right, so now that I got this, I'm going to take the shorter measurement, and I'm going to pinch measure this and see how many of the smaller measurement goes into the longer one. So it appears that it is a little more than half the length. The height is a little bit more than half the length. So, and it looks like it lines right up with that shoulder of the key too, which is kind of cool. But the actual halfway point is probably more like there. So essentially what we're dealing with is a 2-to-1, slightly longer than a 2-to-1. All right, so let's go ahead and draw a rectangle of that proportion. So I'll start off, I'll try to draw a nice straight line, and I'll try to draw a perpendicular line, and then I will, I guess, find what I think is the midpoint here. I'll call that the midpoint. And then I will measure it and take it to there, and it was something like that. So double check it, pinch measure, pinch measure, pinch measure.
And I'll do a little pinch measure here. Seems pretty good. And
all right, so this is my 2-to-1 rectangle, and as we were noting before, it's like a little bit, the actual key is like a little bit longer. It's kind of like something more like that, but this will be, okay. So I got my rectangle, I got my tracing right there. So now what I'm gonna do is I will try to find the center line here. So let me just double check this measurement with my pinch measure.
yeah, something like that. It's a little wavy right there. Straighten that out. All right. So
Now we're going to try to draw the key. So we're not going to worry about any of the interior details or the text or anything like that. We're just going to try to get the proportions on the contour, right? So we're going to find all these little things here, measure them out, look for alignments, to look for like the lowest one and the highest one of these. So it'd be something kind of like this, right? Let's see if we can find that center line. So I would think it would be
So let's look like the middle line right there. And yeah, so if that's the case, what do I think that, so this is what we're saying is more like the actual midline? No, alright, so we'll say that that's half. That means this is probably something about like half, and if that's a quarter, that looks like it's a little bit less. So, if I was to find this midpoint, right, it's like a quarter-ish, see if that's right, boom, boom, a quarter. Boom, 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 boom. And then I was thinking about this shoulder without that, right? And if I was to go half here, quarter, something, do something like, something about right. This little corner, probably do 1, 2, and then this little one, probably do something like this, and then definitely this, something like that. So that's the case. That one here, the back, this is about half. So something like this. So I'm looking for my alignments like that. I'm looking for tick marks here, measuring it out. Now when I get to this, that's the center line. Look at this angle like that, like that. Something like this. And I think that this is going to be something about like that. Alright. So, generally speaking, if it is less than 20, it's worth counting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's this one, so I guess that's 7 if you count that one, that's down. Alright, so, what is that? Something like, if this is here, then this is all going to be more like, something like this, I guess. And then, this is half of that, and this lowest part is, I don't know, like maybe a quarter over or something? Let's try that. So I'll do half, quarter, 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 quarter. Alright, so that's half. I was going to say the quarter is going to be kind of down like that. And then this one is right before that, something like there. And then it's going to do another one like kind of there. And then I need to have 2 more. This one's going to be here. 1, 2. I think that's what I'm looking at. So, oh, and then I want to have one here and here. I think that's right. Okay, so now I want to think about what it's like running my finger along that edge, just like a key cutter, right? And I will try to then kind of connect those dots now that I know more or less where I want them. And I'm going to try to get these guys, try to get the direction and just, again, envisioning my finger running along it. Go clean up a little bit, but generally speaking, I would like to see all your proportion work, so try to leave that as much as you can. But I personally, if I wasn't doing a demo, I'd probably be using a 2H to do the construction lines and then using the 2B for just doing the final contour, which is what I recommend for you, but again, I'm doing everything in 2B, so hopefully you can.
This will hopefully come through on the video. And that is the key assignment. Look forward to seeing yours.